folks, this is Chad Condon from prepbefore.com, a way to survive. And again, I'm here recording video to help you be ready before you have to be. And as promised in the last video, we're going to talk a little bit about winter travel safety. So winter travel safety it's something that can wreak havoc on your travel plans, whether it's daily trips to and from work, to the grocery store, or you have a trip that is planned. We're going to talk about a few things that you can do to prepare before you have to travel. You know, it's so easy with winter coming in, and just a shift in the wind or a drop in temperature can just make the roads unbearable. You know, especially a lot of what we see here in the Midwest is, you know, I love that 33 degrees and raining, and then all of a sudden it drops below freezing and the wet roads turn to slick roads. We get a lot of ice around here, and it's different than driving on snow. I mean, it is very hazardous. And in the event that that stuff does happen, accidents usually follow. You know, so a few things that we can think about to be ready before you have to be are having supplies in your car. And some of the best things that you can have out there are simple to acquire. You should have a lot of these in your car already, whether it's a jump start kit, jumper cables, something like that. That's something that I just keep in my truck all the time. It doesn't matter what time of year it is, they're just there. And it may not be me that needs it. I could be helping someone else out. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody ask, hey, you got a set of jumper cables? And I typically do. You know, I try to have more than one pair, but sometimes, even though I have more than one pair, they end up on a different vehicle or something like that, and oop, I don't have them. But if you keep them in your car, a pair in every car, you will always have them. But for winter preparedness and travel safety, I'm going to give you a list of things here in this video that you should keep on hand at all times in your car. And even if it's an emergency kit that you tote back and forth with you, if you're like me, I carry a backpack all the time. You know, I take it to work with me. When I'm teaching class, I go to school, and you know, it's always with me in my vehicle. When I'm done, I take it in the house. I just grab it and carry it with me everywhere I go. But a list of the supplies that you should keep, and it's easy to do with a backpack. Keep all this stuff in there all the time, that way you always have it, is to have blankets, you know. And it's good in the wintertime. I do fold up some blankets and put them under the back seat in the truck, but in my pack I've just got cheap little Mylar blankets. They are super cheap, so they're affordable. You can buy them in a 4-pack. And if you look in the description of this video down below and expand that, I will have links to all this stuff that you can check out and get from there. But the Mylar blankets, even if they're emergency blankets, they're really not like a big, thick, woolly, comfortable blanket, but they are non-permeable. They'll keep you dry, and they trap the heat from your body inside. As long as you get it wrapped up and closed up tight, it will keep you warm just from your body heat being contained. So blankets, you know, being prepared before you leave, having extra clothes to throw on, because layers do matter. You know, I'm walking around out in the woods today, and I came out to record a little video too, but I've got 2 t-shirts, a sweatshirt, and my nice warm coat underneath my raincoat, which blocks the wind really well. You know, and I am nice and toasty. If I did too much walking, I would probably end up breaking a sweat, even though it's below freezing right now. So layers are good, extra clothes, and your emergency kit itself, you know, which I have a backpack that has all this stuff in it. If you would like, Uncharted makes some really, really good stuff. It comes in a backpack. It's got all this stuff in it already, and I'll leave a link for those also in the description. But just a simple backpack. I use it to carry my computer, all my stuff for work. I've got pens, pencils, but I also have my blankets, I typically have the sweatshirt in the truck, or I'm wearing it. You know, if it's going to be cold out, I typically layer up anyway. If I get too warm, you can always take it off. You know, a couple good things to have in your car all the time in this list are tire sealant. You know, I mentioned jumper cables. A couple things you can throw in your bag are nice hand warmers, emergency candles. And if you look at some of the people up north, it's not so much as bad down south, but some people that live way out in the middle of nowhere where it does get cold, and I mean they get feet of snow instead of inches, they'll be more aware of how this stuff works. You know, they even make vehicles different with more insulation because of the conditions that they live in. But you can actually prepare for this, and you would be surprised how much, if you are stranded on the side of the road and can't get out of your vehicle, how much a candle will keep the interior of a car warm. Just that one little bitty flame burning in your car can do a lot of good, and it will help you conserve fuel. It's just a good thing to have. And then of course you need to have some type of snack and water. You know, you can't typically leave, if you're looking at cold conditions, you can't leave water in your vehicle because it'll end up being real hard and you won't drink it. It turns to ice. You know, but if it's something that you're carrying with you, it's good to have a little snack and a bottle of water with you so you can stay hydrated, stay warm, and make it until emergency rescuers come by, or DOT, a snow plow, something. If you're off the road and stranded, you know, you might be there for a minute. Most places, you know, around where I'm at, it's pretty populated. You're not going to get lost in the middle of nowhere or stranded, so it's not as bad. But, you know, there's also on top of the list, you know, with blankets, having extra clothes, having your emergency kit, some tire sealant, jumper cables, you know, your hand warmers, things like that that will help you keep warm. And then the candles that you can put in your kit, and snacks and water, all those things will go together. But before you leave, you should, especially if it's a planned trip, if you know you're going to be going for a pretty good distance, you could possibly end out where there's miles between exits or something like that. You know, a good thing to do is to check the weather. You know, look ahead, think about it, see how things are going to be. If you're expecting it, then prepare for it. You know, communicate before you leave. Tell somebody that you're leaving, where you're going, how long it's going to take you, maybe when you should be expected. You know, if I don't get there by this time, something's gone wrong. Things like that. That's all it takes, is a minute. And charge your phone. Make sure your phone is fully charged before you leave. That way, in the event that you did get stranded, maybe your automobile failed, you know, and it doesn't have power to charge your phone. I mean, typically you think, oh, I'll be in my car, I'll plug it in and the battery will charge it, which there's ways around that, you know, but sometimes an alternator goes out, it runs till the battery's dead, and then it quits. Now your battery's dead. You can't do anything. You know, so things to think about. Charge your phone up. Before you leave, start your car, warm your car. If you've got snow and ice on the windshield, on the windows, warm it up. Get the ice scraper out. Make sure that the windows are cleaned off and you can see where you're going. It's always safer to drive when you can see where you're going. Think about that. Make sure that you keep your tank filled up. You know, if you are traveling in treacherous weather, the worst thing to do would be to run out of gas. You know, the second worst thing would be to get stranded and not have any gas. You know, so as you're traveling, if you get down, you know, I know in the south I'm pretty bad about it. I'll run my tank down until, okay, I got to pull over and stop. But it doesn't take much longer to pull over and stop and top it off when it's down to about a half a tank. That way, if something does happen, you have more fuel to burn to keep yourself sustained. So something to think about. And then the other thing is wear your seat belt. You know, most states, it's the law. You're supposed to click it or tick it. It should already be a habit, but when you're traveling in slick conditions, you really ought to have your seat belt on. They do save lives. So Now that you're prepared, you've got your emergency kit, you've got your supplies, you've looked ahead, you know what the weather's going to be like. You may be expecting some weather, but you need to get there anyway. So you've looked at it, you've charged your phone, you've got your stuff in the car warmed up, windshield's clean, you're good to go. Some of the things that you might think about while you're driving. If you get stuck driving in these conditions, you know, I mentioned here we get a lot of 33 degrees and raining. The wind changes, the temperature drops, and then it turns to ice. The one thing that I can say about driving in snow, ice, any slick conditions is smooth and steady. No sudden changes. You know, it's just the way it works. That is typically what gets people, is they get caught off guard by something and they make an abrupt change in direction, speed, or anything like that, and that is what causes you to lose traction, slide off the road, or into something else. So slow and steady is the way to go. No sudden changes. Make sure that you are leaving plenty of space. You know, you have a large vehicle that you've been driving all summer, you hit the brakes, it stops. When the roads are slick, you hit the brakes, sometimes it doesn't stop. So make sure that you're leaving plenty of space between you and any other vehicles, even if it means it's going to take longer to get there because you have to slow down, stuff like that. Hills, anticipate them, whether it's up or down. You know when you're going down a hill, you're going to have to hit the brakes because the car is going to speed up. Slow down before you get to the hill. And the same with going up a hill. If you are trying to go up a hill and it's slick and you mash it, you're going to end up spinning. So slow and easily come into it, build the momentum, get your speed going up the hill so you can carry that momentum up. Because if you're trying to accelerate up the hill, you'll end up breaking traction and spinning your tires and possibly not making it up the hill. I've been there and done that before. And again, bridges, they freeze first. You see the signs on the highway that will actually tell you this. If there's precipitation, the highway may be good, and then all of a sudden you hit a bridge and there's 3 or 4 cars off the road just after it. It's because of the air passing under them. The temperature of the concrete drops faster than it does than what's on the ground, and it freezes before the actual roadway does. So always remember, bridges freeze first. And in the event that you do find yourself in a mishap and you get stuck, here's a few tips for that also. You know, remain calm, obviously. The first thing you need to do is not freak out. Remain calm, keep your wits about yourself. The best thing to do is to stay in the car, especially on a highway, because there could be other people traveling at a high rate of speed and they hit the bridge and they slide off. And if you are outside of the vehicle, you have much smaller chance of survival if they hit you without being inside the vehicle. If you do have to get out of the vehicle for some things momentarily, just pay attention, make sure that you know what's going on. But if you get stranded and you're stuck and there's snow on the road, you plan on being in your vehicle, you know, take a flag, a t-shirt, something that you've brought with you, and tie it to the antenna to signal for help if you need help. You know, you may be waiting it out, maybe doing whatever, but if you're off the road, make sure you put something outside the vehicle. You could even take something and just stick it in the door to where it's flagging out, to give them some sort of signal that there's somebody in that vehicle. You know, it's a good idea to flag for help. Don't waste your gas. You know, it's a good idea to leave the car running and stay nice and toasty, but every minute you do, you're burning fuel. So you can easily heat the car up for a little bit and retain that heat. If you've got more people in the vehicle, you can huddle together. You can stay warm by moving around, move your legs. You know, use the muscles to create that body heat. Huddle together, cover up with a blanket, but don't leave the car running constantly. You know, shut it off, conserve your fuel, and that way, if you have to be there for a long period of time, you're going to have a better chance of staying warm. You know, it's going to cool off. If it gets too cold to where you're freezing, then you start it back up. and you let it run for a little bit and get nice and toasty, and then shut it off again. So as you're doing this, make sure that your tailpipe is not submerged in the snow. If you've slid off the road, make sure that it can expel the exhaust from the car and it's not getting trapped underneath it, therefore filling up the inside of the vehicle that you're in and filling it with carbon monoxide and creating a hazardous situation. So make sure that your exhaust is getting out and not trapped in. And then if you had your emergency kit, you should have something to hydrate. Drink water. Don't have to drink it all at once. Spread it out. Just take a few sips every so often. Stay hydrated. This helps the blood stay thinner and move through your body and keep you warm. It transfers the heat from your core body down to your extremities and makes it easier to do if you're hydrated. So just a few tips for traveling in winter. The best thing you can do is make sure that you're ready. If you have to travel in hazardous conditions, the top thing I can say is make sure you have an emergency kit, have all these supplies, and I will leave more information in the description for this video with links where you can get some of these things. You should really check them out, but it's too easy if you have to do it to plan ahead. Check the weather, know what you're getting into, communicate, let someone know what route you're taking, when you should be there, and let them know when you're leaving. That way, if there's a huge pile up on the route that they're going, they can call and check, things like that. So that pretty much sums up what I was going to talk about this week. And if you have any questions, you can go to prepbefore.com, winter weather travel safety. If you go to that blog site, you can leave comments. There is a place on the page where you can ask questions, and I'll be glad to get a hold of you. And next week we will be talking about preparing for emergencies in general. I'm going to start a series of videos that kind of lead into one another and what you need to do to be prepared for pretty much any emergency. So stay tuned. I hope you like this stuff. I'm going to keep it coming. Hopefully I can get better and make this more enjoyable for you. And stay tuned, subscribe, like, hit the bell, and it'll let you know when I've got more information for you. This is Chad from prepbefore.com. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.